The storm outside screamed against the glass walls of the tall corporate tower, but inside, the silence was louder. 100 applicants had already failed. Nannies, tutors, even psychologists had walked away defeated. The billionaire's twin daughters were known as the tiny hurricanes. Two little girls no one could control, no one could comfort, no one could reach. But that night, as the security cameras rolled and the city lights flickered far below, a man in a janitor's uniform, tired, quiet, invisible, was about to walk into their lives and change everything. That if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected heroes, then please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your small action helps stories like this one reach hearts that need a little hope tonight. Ethan Brooks was a single dad working the graveyard shift at the Stratton Industries headquarters. Every night, after tucking his little girl Lily into bed at a neighbor's apartment, he came here, mopping floors, cleaning glass walls, and making sure no trace of the day's chaos remained by sunrise. Life had beaten him hard. His wife had passed away 3 years ago, leaving him with a mountain of bills and a little girl who was the only light in his dim world. But Ethan never complained. He smiled through exhaustion, whispered goodnight prayers under his breath, and cleaned like his job was the most important thing on earth, because, to him, it was the thread holding his small world together. One night, as he was finishing up, he heard shouting from the executive floor. It wasn't the usual corporate stress, it was the sharp, panicked cry of children. Curiosity tugged him upstairs, where he found the billionaire CEO, Veronica Stratton, standing helplessly at the glass door of her private office. Inside, two little girls, about 5 years old, identical with curls of gold and wide, furious eyes, were throwing papers, breaking toys, and screaming at a line of nannies who looked ready to quit. The scene was chaos wrapped in luxury. Veronica's face was pale with exhaustion. She was known across the city for her brilliance and power, but in that moment, she looked completely lost. Ethan froze, unsure whether to walk away or help. But when one of the girls tripped on a toy and began to cry, something inside him moved faster than his fear. He stepped into the room quietly, picking up the toy, and crouched down beside her. "It's okay," he whispered softly, his tone calm, the same one he used with Lily when she woke up crying after a nightmare. The room went still. The second twin stopped mid-tantrum, staring at him curiously. The nannies, and even Veronica, seemed confused. No one had ever gotten that kind of silence from the twins before. That he didn't scold them. He didn't bribe them. He simply sat on the floor, pulling a few toy blocks toward him, and began quietly stacking them. Within minutes, both girls edged closer, intrigued. Soon, they were stacking blocks too. No shouting, no tears. Just quiet concentration and tiny smiles. Veronica watched, stunned. Hours later, when the twins finally fell asleep on Ethan's lap, she couldn't believe her eyes. The billionaire's daughters, who had driven professionals to tears, were peacefully sleeping in the arms of a janitor. The next morning, Veronica asked him to stay. She offered double pay, then triple, if he could help her daughters again. Ethan refused at first, saying he was just a janitor, not a caretaker. But when she looked at him with that desperate, pleading mother's gaze, he thought of Lily, how he'd do anything for her if she were in pain. So he agreed, on one condition: he wouldn't treat the girls like spoiled heiresses. He'd treat them like kids who needed love. From that day on, Ethan became part of their world. Every evening, after finishing his cleaning shift, he'd spend time with Emma and Ella, the twins who once refused to let anyone near them. At first, they tested him. They threw tantrums, ignored him, and locked themselves in rooms. But Ethan never raised his voice. He knew pain hides behind anger. He'd seen it in his own daughter after her mother's death. So he just stayed patient. He told them stories, fixed their broken toys, and showed them how to make paper airplanes from old reports. One night, as they sat in the office playroom, Emma whispered, "Our mommy's gone too. Daddy says she's sleeping in heaven." Ethan felt his heart crack open. He didn't say anything. He just hugged her gently. From that moment, something shifted. The walls around their little hearts began to crumble. They began to laugh again, to draw pictures, to ask him to stay just 5 more minutes. Veronica noticed the change immediately. Her once chaotic home became warm again. The twins were calmer, happier, even excited to go to school. And Ethan, this quiet, humble man, had somehow done what money, power, and dozens of professionals couldn't. But as weeks turned into months, Veronica also noticed something else. Her daughters weren't the only ones healing. She began to see the man behind the uniform, the tired eyes that still held kindness, the hands that carried both work and fatherhood without complaint. She found herself waiting for his laugh, his simple wisdom, his calm presence that seemed to bring peace wherever he went. But just as everything seemed perfect, the world reminded them how fragile happiness can be. One evening, Veronica's father, chairman of the company, found out that his daughter's janitor friend was spending time in her office and home. Furious, he accused Ethan of overstepping boundaries, of taking advantage of sympathy. In front of the entire board, he humiliated him, calling him a poor man playing savior. Ethan stood silent, swallowing the pain, and left without a word. That night, the twins cried for him. Veronica tried to explain, but they didn't understand why the man who made them feel safe was gone. Days passed, but Ethan didn't return. He couldn't. His pride and his pain wouldn't let him. He found another job at a smaller building, farther away. Every time he saw a father and daughter on the street, it tore at him, but he told himself it was for the best. Then, one morning, a black car stopped outside the small janitorial office where he worked. The door opened, and two familiar little girls ran out, shouting, "Ethan," before throwing their arms around his legs. Veronica followed behind, her eyes red, her voice trembling. She apologized, not as a CEO, but as a mother and a woman who finally realized that kindness is worth more than status. She told him her father had seen the truth after watching the twins cry for days without him. Ethan didn't know what to say. The only thing he could do was kneel down and hug the girls tight. Sometimes, love doesn't need fancy words, it just needs presence. From that day forward, Veronica made sure Ethan never had to choose between pride and purpose again. She offered him a full-time position, not as a janitor, but as the head of child wellness for her foundation, helping kids who lost their parents find comfort again. He accepted, grateful but humble, always reminding her that he was still the same man who once cleaned those office floors with pride. As for the twins, they never forgot him. They became his family, just like Lily had always been his reason to keep going. Together, they taught each other something powerful, that sometimes the richest hearts are found in the poorest uniforms, and that love, once shared, can heal even the deepest wounds. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and comment your thoughts below. Stories like this remind us that compassion can change lives in ways we can't imagine.